There is a quiet strength that grows inside a woman when she reaches a certain season of life, a strength that does not announce itself loudly and does not seek permission to exist. It arrives gently, often after years of emotional effort, misunderstandings, sacrifices, and invisible battles that no one ever applauded. This strength does not come from winning arguments or proving points, but from realizing that peace is more valuable than being right, and that silence, when chosen consciously, can be a form of deep self-respect. In Japanese culture, silence is not emptiness. Silence is presence. Silence is intelligence that knows when words would only drain the soul rather than nourish it. Many women in the West are taught from an early age that emotional strength means expressing everything, confronting everything, and defending themselves at all costs. But Japanese wisdom offers a different path, one that many women naturally grow into as they mature, often without realizing that what they are choosing is not avoidance, but mastery. As women move through their 40s, 50s, and 60s, something shifts internally. The urgency to explain oneself begins to soften. The need to correct others slowly fades. The desire to be understood by everyone loses its grip. In its place, a quieter longing emerges, a longing for emotional safety, dignity, and inner calm. Japanese women have long understood that not every emotional invitation deserves an answer, and not every provocation deserves a response. This is not because they feel less. On the contrary, it is because they feel deeply. They understand that emotions are powerful currents, and that stepping into every emotional current can leave the heart exhausted and fragmented. Silence becomes a filter, a way of choosing where to place one's emotional energy with intention rather than impulse. It is an act of discernment, not suppression. In Japan, there is a deep respect for the concept of ma, the space between things. It is the pause between words, the stillness between movements, the quiet that gives meaning to sound. In relationships, this space allows emotions to settle before they turn into unnecessary conflict. Many Japanese women grow up observing how restraint can protect harmony, not only in the family but also within the self. Western culture often frames emotional battles as proof of self-worth. If you do not speak up, you are weak. If you do not defend yourself, you are losing. But Japanese wisdom suggests something far more subtle and far more powerful. A woman who does not react immediately is not powerless. She is grounded. She is allowing clarity to rise before emotion takes control. As women mature, they begin to recognize patterns that once drained them, repeating arguments that never led to understanding, emotional confrontations that left them feeling empty rather than resolved, relationships where explaining themselves only invited more misunderstanding. Over time, the heart learns. It learns that peace is not found in endless dialogue, but in knowing when dialogue is no longer fruitful. Silence, in this sense, becomes a form of self-care. It is a boundary that does not need to be announced. It is a decision made internally, rooted in self-respect rather than fear. Japanese women are often taught that dignity is preserved not by overpowering others, but by remaining anchored within oneself. This anchoring allows emotions to flow without overflowing, to be felt without becoming destructive. There is also the concept of gamen, which refers to enduring the difficult with patience and grace. Gamen does not mean suffering silently out of obligation, but rather choosing composure over chaos. It reflects an understanding that reacting emotionally in every situation can weaken the spirit rather than strengthen it. For many women, especially those who have spent decades caring for others, this wisdom feels like a quiet homecoming. A mature woman begins to sense when a conversation is no longer about connection, but about control. She recognizes when emotional battles are invitations to lose herself in someone else's turmoil. Japanese women are taught to observe before engaging, to listen not only to words but to the energy beneath them. This observation allows them to step back without guilt, knowing that silence can sometimes communicate more than words ever could. At this stage in life, many women no longer seek validation through emotional intensity. They have lived enough to know that emotional fireworks often burn quickly and leave ashes behind. What they crave instead is steadiness, emotional safety, and a sense of inner order. Silence offers this because it protects the nervous system, calms the heart, and preserves emotional energy for what truly matters. And here is something important to remember. Choosing silence does not mean accepting disrespect. It means refusing to participate in emotional exchanges that diminish one's peace. Japanese wisdom teaches that true power lies in self-regulation, in the ability to remain composed even when emotions are stirred. This composure is not coldness. It is wisdom shaped by experience. If this reflection resonates with you, take a moment to notice where in your life you have already begun choosing peace over explanation, and feel free to share in the comments what silence has protected you from recently. As women age, their emotional landscape becomes more refined. They no longer need to prove their feelings to be valid. They trust themselves more. They understand that some people are not capable of meeting them in emotional maturity, and that explaining oneself to such people is an energy expense with no return. Silence becomes an act of emotional budgeting, a way of investing energy where it can actually grow. In Japanese philosophy, harmony is not created through force but through balance. Emotional balance requires knowing when to speak and when to withdraw, when to engage and when to let go. This balance becomes easier with age because life itself has taught the woman what truly matters. She has seen enough to know that inner peace is fragile and precious. There is also a deep respect for emotional containment in Japanese culture. Emotions are honored, but they are not allowed to dominate the space. This containment creates safety, both internally and externally. A woman who can contain her emotions is not denying them. She is holding them with care, allowing them to soften rather than explode. For many mature women, this approach feels liberating. It releases them from the pressure to perform emotional labor for everyone else. It gives them permission to rest within themselves, to choose calm over chaos, and to honor their own emotional rhythms. Silence becomes not a wall, but a sanctuary. This is the beginning of understanding why so many Japanese women choose silence over emotional battles. It is not because they are passive, and it is not because they lack voice. It is because they have learned that their voice is sacred, and that not every situation deserves access to it. As a woman continues to mature, she begins to understand that emotional battles often ask for more than they give. They demand explanation, justification, defense, and emotional exposure, yet rarely offer resolution or peace in return. Japanese wisdom gently teaches that not every emotional doorway needs to be opened, especially when the heart already knows what lies on the other side. In many Japanese households, girls observe from an early age how emotional restraint preserves dignity. They see women who listen carefully, respond selectively, and move through conflict without escalating it. This behavior is not rooted in submission, but in a profound understanding of emotional cause and effect. When emotions are released without intention, they often create waves that return stronger than before. One of the central teachings behind this is the respect for emotional energy. In Japanese thought, energy is not infinite. It must be conserved, protected, and directed wisely. Mature women, especially those who have spent decades caring for others, intuitively recognize this truth. They have felt what emotional exhaustion does to the body, to the spirit, and to the sense of self. Silence becomes a way of safeguarding what little energy remains for joy, creativity, and inner peace. There is also an unspoken understanding that emotions, when shared with the wrong listener, can become weapons against the one who revealed them. Japanese women are often taught to be discerning about where vulnerability is placed. Silence is not about hiding pain, but about choosing safe containers for it. This discernment grows sharper with age, as women learn through experience who is capable of holding their truth with respect. In contrast, emotional battles often invite misunderstanding. They pull a woman into cycles of defense, reaction, and regret. Words spoken in heightened emotion cannot be retrieved, and their echoes can linger far longer than intended. Japanese wisdom encourages pause, reflection, and timing. It teaches that when emotions are allowed to settle, clarity rises naturally, and from clarity comes power. Another concept deeply woven into this choice is shibumi, the beauty of understated elegance. In emotional terms, shibumi reflects strength without display, confidence without noise, and presence without force. A woman who embodies this does not need to assert herself loudly. Her calm becomes her authority. Her silence speaks through her posture, her boundaries, and her consistency. As women reach midlife, they often realize that emotional intensity is not the same as emotional depth. Loud reactions do not equal strong feelings. Sometimes the deepest emotions move quietly, asking for space rather than expression. Japanese culture honors this subtlety, allowing emotions to exist without demanding performance. There is also a profound respect for acceptance, not resignation, but acknowledgement of what cannot be changed. Many emotional battles arise from the desire to force understanding, to make others see what they are unwilling or unable to see. Japanese wisdom suggests that peace arrives when a woman stops arguing with reality and begins aligning with herself instead. This alignment brings a quiet confidence. A woman no longer feels compelled to explain her choices, her boundaries, or her evolution. She understands that those who are meant to understand will do so without force. Those who do not are not her responsibility to convince. Silence becomes a filter that naturally reshapes her relationships, leaving room only for those who respect her emotional maturity. At this stage, many women begin to notice that their bodies respond positively to emotional restraint. Their nervous systems calm, their sleep deepens, their thoughts become less scattered. Emotional battles, once a familiar pattern, now feel physically uncomfortable. The body itself begins to reject chaos in favor of harmony. Japanese practices often emphasize rituals that ground emotions rather than amplify them. Simple acts like preparing tea mindfully, walking slowly, or sitting in quiet reflection help emotions settle into the body instead of spilling outward. These rituals teach women that emotions do not need to be released dramatically to be processed fully. And if you are finding resonance in these reflections, this is a gentle moment to pause and subscribe to the channel, allowing yourself to return to these teachings whenever you need grounding and clarity. Another reason silence becomes more appealing with age is that women begin to trust their inner compass. They no longer need external validation to confirm what they already know. Emotional battles often stem from self-doubt, from the need to be affirmed or justified. When self-trust is strong, the urge to battle dissolves naturally. Japanese women often cultivate this trust by honoring intuition. They listen to subtle cues, shifts in energy, and unspoken truths. This listening does not require words. It requires stillness. Silence sharpens intuition, while constant emotional expression can drown it out. Over time, a woman learns that silence keeps her connected to her deeper knowing. There is also a spiritual dimension to this choice. Silence allows space for wisdom to emerge. In many Japanese traditions, wisdom is not forced through thought, but revealed through stillness. A woman who sits with her emotions without reacting gains insight into their origin, their message, and their impermanence. This awareness brings freedom. She realizes that she does not need to act on every feeling. She can feel deeply without being controlled by emotion. This distinction is crucial for emotional sovereignty, especially for women who have spent much of their lives attuned to the needs and moods of others. As emotional battles fade, a new quality enters a woman's life: emotional elegance. She responds instead of reacts. She chooses instead of defends. She preserves her peace without guilt. This elegance is not coldness but refinement, shaped by years of experience and reflection. Silence then becomes a language of self-respect. It says without words, "I value my peace." It communicates boundaries without confrontation. It allows a woman to remain whole in situations that once fragmented her. And this is not the end of expression, but the beginning of conscious expression. When a Japanese woman speaks after choosing silence, her words carry weight. They are measured, intentional, and clear. Because she does not speak impulsively, her voice is heard when it matters most. This is the deeper preparation for understanding why silence becomes such a powerful ally for mature women. It is not retreat. It is evolution. It is the natural progression of a woman who has learned that emotional battles rarely lead to emotional freedom. There comes a moment in a woman's life when she realizes that silence is no longer something she fears, but something she chooses with intention. This moment does not arrive suddenly. It is shaped slowly, through years of emotional labor, through conversations that went nowhere, through conflicts that stole more energy than they ever returned. And when this realization arrives, it feels less like giving up and more like coming home. Japanese wisdom teaches that true strength is quiet. It does not seek to dominate a room or overpower another person's emotions. Instead, it remains steady, grounded, and self-contained. A woman who has reached emotional maturity understands that her peace is not something to negotiate. It is something to protect. At this stage of life, many women notice that emotional battles feel heavier than they once did. The body no longer recovers as quickly from stress. The heart feels the weight of unnecessary conflict more deeply. What once felt like standing up for oneself now feels like self-betrayal when it costs inner calm. Silence becomes an act of loyalty to oneself. In Japanese culture, there is an understanding that emotions, when indulged without restraint, can cloud judgment and weaken relationships. Emotional mastery is not about denying feelings, but about holding them with awareness. A woman learns to sit with her emotions, to feel them fully, without letting them dictate her behavior. This is where silence becomes transformative. Silence allows emotions to pass through rather than take control. It gives space for perspective. It allows a woman to ask herself quietly, "Is this worth my energy?" And more often than not, the answer is no. With age, wisdom replaces urgency. The need to respond immediately dissolves, replaced by discernment. There is also the concept of emotional detachment without emotional disconnection. Japanese women often practice staying emotionally present without becoming emotionally entangled. They care deeply, but they do not lose themselves in other people's chaos. Silence creates this boundary naturally. It keeps compassion intact while preventing emotional overwhelm. For many mature women, this shift feels radical, even liberating. They realize they are no longer responsible for managing other people's emotions. They no longer need to rescue, explain, or convince. They understand that emotional battles are often attempts to control outcomes that are beyond their power. Letting go of these battles restores a sense of autonomy. Japanese philosophy emphasizes harmony, not agreement at all costs, but inner alignment. Harmony begins within. When a woman chooses silence, she is often choosing alignment with her values, her limits, and her well-being. This alignment radiates outward, reshaping how others interact with her. People begin to sense her boundaries without her having to announce them. Her calm becomes unmistakable. Her presence feels grounded. She no longer invites drama, not because she avoids truth, but because she embodies it quietly. Silence becomes her signature. This does not mean she never speaks. On the contrary, when she does speak, her words carry clarity and weight. She has learned that words are precious, and she uses them intentionally. Emotional battles dilute the power of language. Silence refines it. There is a deep peace that settles into a woman when she stops fighting to be understood by those who are not listening. Japanese wisdom teaches acceptance without bitterness. A woman accepts people as they are, without needing them to be different for her to feel whole. This acceptance frees enormous emotional space. As this space opens, something beautiful happens. Creativity returns. Joy becomes quieter but deeper. Relationships that remain become more authentic. The woman feels lighter, not because life is easier, but because she is no longer carrying what does not belong to her. At this point, silence is no longer reactive. It is proactive. It is chosen before exhaustion sets in. It is chosen before resentment grows. It is chosen out of love for oneself. This is emotional sovereignty. If you have felt the shift within yourself, if you have noticed that you are less interested in proving and more interested in preserving, allow yourself to honor that growth. And if these reflections resonate with you, I invite you to subscribe and stay connected to this space of feminine wisdom and calm. Japanese teachings remind us that aging is not a decline, but a refinement. Each year removes what is unnecessary and reveals what is essential. Emotional battles belong to earlier chapters, when the self was still forming. Silence belongs to the chapter where the self is known. A mature woman understands that she does not need to attend every argument she is invited to. She chooses where to place her attention, her words, and her heart. This choice is power, quiet power. Silence becomes her refuge, not a place of hiding, but a place of restoration. Within silence, she reconnects with herself. She hears her own thoughts clearly. She feels her intuition guiding her gently. She remembers who she is beneath expectations and noise. And perhaps this is the greatest gift of choosing silence, the return to self. A woman no longer disperses her energy outward in constant reaction. She gathers it inward where it nourishes her spirit, her body, and her sense of purpose. This is why so many Japanese women, and so many women who embody this wisdom, choose silence over emotional battles. They have learned that peace is not found in winning, but in letting go. Not in speaking louder, but in listening deeper. Not in fighting, but in honoring their own becoming. As you continue forward, may you feel permission to choose silence without guilt, to protect your peace without explanation, and to trust that your quiet strength speaks louder than any argument ever could. If this journey touched something within you, subscribe and join this circle of feminine wisdom, where silence is honored, maturity is celebrated, and peace is chosen with intention.